Hello there and welcome back to another review. So today we're going to be having a look at Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho. Now remember before this film came out there was a lot of buzz around this film. There was a lot of, what's Edgar Wright's new movie going to be? We got the title, what's it going to be about? And everyone was wondering about it. What's it going to be? What's it going to be like? And it's sort of a time travel psychological murder mystery set in the 60s. And that's quite a mouthful there, but that's sort of what the film sort of embodies with what it's trying to do. I don't think the film done all that well financially, but there's still a very enjoyable film here from Edgar Wright. If not, I mean, it's a very serious one and a very surreal one. I mean, make no mistake, this is not a film for laughs and giggles. It's not like you're not going to be getting anything along the lines of like Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, World's End, or anything like that. This is a very, very serious movie. Hardly anything funny actually does happen in the movie. This is Edgar Wright going down the serious thriller route, and whilst of course trying to put his own spin and take on things, for the most part the film does succeed with what he's trying to do, and like I said, it accomplishes the goals what it's set in front of it. And a lot of themes about this movie, and Wright, you could say, gives a homage to the 60s, but the homage he gives is one that's very unsettling. It's a very surreal sort of homage he gives to the 60s. It's very disturbing as well. I think originally he was going to make a sequel to Baby Driver, but I think that was on the cards, what he was going to do, but he decided to go in a completely different direction with sort of this coming of age 60s horror film. I think still on sort of a Baby Driver trip. I don't think the scenes in the 60s were originally going to have any dialogue and were simply going to be accompanied with music, but in the end obviously they gave the characters words, as I think that helps us understand the relationship between Sandy and Ellie a lot more, which I will get to in a moment. I mean, the production, the costumes, the cinematography in this film are all first rate. It's really great stuff. It's got a lot of fans, this film. A lot of people absolutely love it. I've got people think it's, I've met and spoke to people that absolutely adore this movie. I think for the most part, a lot of people like this movie, though many have said, I think the some criticism I heard is like the script maybe isn't as sharp as it could be, or not as sharp as one would expect it to be in sort of an Edgar Wright movie. Sort of some characters are not necessarily fleshed out as much as they could have been, or maybe needed a bit more screen time or something like that. But that aside, there's a lot to be enjoyed here, and many have said as well, like the first half is a lot better than the second half. And although they're all them points, like I said, about the script, the characters and things like that, I sort of agree but don't agree, if that makes sense, which I know doesn't help you lot out there. But I'm just, as I say, I'm not sort of sitting on the fence, but I can sort of see where they're coming from, but I don't fully agree with sort of some of the criticisms. But and this was a film that really reminded me of Black Swan with Natalie Portman. It's got that kind of feel running through it, like the idea of paranoia, not sure what's real, what's going on anymore, like is this happening, and just like to say that feeling of isolation. We have a female protagonist who is seeing or experiencing things that no one else sees and understands, and that fear, like I say, that fear of paranoia, being all alone like Ellie is when she comes to London. Made in 2021 and starring a huge cast here from Matt Smith, Terence Stamp, Diana Rigg, Anna Taylor-Joy. We got a great cast, a great director, and a really enjoyable movie. So what did I think? So we meet Ellie, who gets a letter to come to London where she's going to study fashion. She's living with her gran, who warns her to be careful as London can be a lot to take in. We sort of find out early on that she can see ghosts. Okay, this is basically the whole gimmick of the movie. She can sort of see ghosts, like she sees her mum sometimes and tells her gran she hasn't seen her for a while. Now, not to take anything away from Edgar Wright, but that is really the whole catalyst of the movie. Like the whole plot in a nutshell is a girl stays in a room where something bad happened, and because she sees ghosts, she sees a murder. Is it ever explained how or why she can see ghosts? That would have been nice if that was explained. I mean, like with the characters, couldn't it have taken a little more fleshing out? Because I love Ellie and Sandy. I just wish we learnt more of them and more about them. But at the same time, you don't necessarily have to reveal everything about them. So Ellie loves everything 60s because, like, being a fashion designer, well, I think that was her mum's dream too. So after taking a lift with a really sleazy cab driver, the film does not hold back on the, like I mentioned, with the unsettling sort of homage it gets. It really doesn't, Edgar Wright doesn't hold back on that sleazy, sort of dirty underbelly of what sort of any city, especially this movie, like London, sort of has going on with it. So if anything, the film embraces that side of London. She finds her college and her new roommate, Jocasta, who is like the queen bitch from hell, and everyone at this college she meets seems to be in that sort of stuck-up, snooty brigade, sort of looking down on her, just sort of up their own arses, basically. So the notion of feeling left out, like you will never fit in, and we've all been there, whether it's been at a job or a college or whatever. We've all had moments at some point in our life where we have felt like the odd one out, and like I say, you're sort of with Ellie as she goes on this journey to college, because you like I say, you'd sort of like where she's studying fashion, you sort of, because we've all been there, we've all been in that moment where you've got to meet new people. Am I going to fit in here? Is this going to work? For some reason, Jocasta is obsessed with talking about her mum being dead, and we learn that Ellie's mum killed herself. Jocasta is such a bitch to her that she even lies and goes out of the way to make out her background is more traumatic than Ellie's. Like, this girl is completely deranged. Like, she's completely, like, why are you going out of your way to make life, like, she's always, like I say, looking down on her. She's like sort of having to go one better than her all the time. Just you know, you hate this girl right away. Not the actress, I just mean the character she's playing. So to say, you've that feel of, I'd say, she just has to go one better. So even at one point when this drunken dick that tries to chat her up, she's like, you should try that chat up line on Ellie. I think we become attached to Ellie right away, as we all of us, like I say, have felt like that outsider at some point, and like sort of we don't belong, and you are on Ellie's side, and it's a fantastic performance here from Thomasin McKenzie. Make no mistake about that. So she leaves the place early where they're drinking and spots Terence Stamp's mysterious character. After the girls have like a drunken party in her room, and she meets a guy called John, though she wakes up late. She phones her gran and says everything is fine, though she is hating it so far. She's absolutely detesting like the people, the environment. She's not enjoying herself at all. So because of like her roommates and the partying and just how nasty and horrible they are to her, she decides to rent a room in Soho. She meets Miss Collins, played by Rigg, and the room is very old-fashioned, and Ellie absolutely loves it. Ellie falls in love with it completely. That night she pulls the covers over her head and basically goes to London in the 60s. Suddenly we're transported to London in the 60s. The idea is she is seeing places that exist in her dreams before she has ever been there in real life. Like she's seeing these places before, or like having no knowledge of actually physically been in these places. She looks in the mirror and has become the gorgeous Sandy, played by the ever lovely Anya Taylor-Joy. So you think at first it is who she wants to be and the life she would like to have, and the dream starts off really well. Like you assume like this is just a fantasy she's having. This is somebody she wants to be, who she would like to look at, what a life that would be. Because as I say, she's obsessed with the 60s, and you think, like I say, this is sort of her ideal of what she would like to be like. She's at this constant of Cilla Black's where she meets like this talent scout called Jack, played by Matt Smith, and this whole scene is very much Baby Driver-ish with the dancing and very little dialogue. Sandy wants to be a singer and a dancer, so her and Jack get very close, but it's actually Ellie, or is it Sandy? And see, we don't know at this point. We're not really sure, and that's the whole idea what Edgar Wright's doing there. He's sort of keeping you guessing. I don't want you to know what's going on. Just go with it, watch the film, see where this goes. So they leave the club, and Ellie is like sort of watching but experiencing it at the same time. She's sort of, like I say, it's happening to her, but she's sort of watching it from an outside point of view as well at the same time, if that makes sense. It's really hard to explain. So she wakes up, but yet as like a love bite that happened in the dream. She gets it like she gets, can't go back to sleep that night because she gets like sort of fixated with this that night. See what, like, she can't wait to go back and see Sandy, because she's happy in this place, in this dream, like where she goes. Jack gets her an audition, but she becomes like her manager. Ellie wakes up and has like a complete makeover and gets her hair blonde. She also gets a job at this like Irish bar where Terence Stamp's character says he recognises her. The script, like I mentioned, whilst good, is maybe not, I use that word sharp, whereas, like I said, you know, I know they're different movies, but where like the Shaun of the Dead like Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, World's End, all them kind of movies were very sort of, they had a real poppy, snappy script. And though this film didn't need a script like that, it's maybe just a bit, I don't want to use the term mediocre, but some of the lines are a bit sort of by the numbers, that some of the lines are a little bit just throwaway lines here and there, not all the way through, just here and there. It maybe just could have done with just a bit more, the script just a little bit more magic added to it, just a little bit more sparkle to it, if you will. So, as I say, just wish it could have popped a bit more to make some of the scenes more memorable. Now, she goes back into a dream, and Sandy is working as a backup dancer and not the lead, basically. So Jack promised her these big things, but she's actually just working as a backup dancer. She's not like the main star like she was hoping to be. Jack wants her to sleep her with like his boss, right? So it becomes really seedy. I'll say we had a horrible, sleazy cab driver, a taxi driver at the start, and then we got Jocasta being a complete and utter bitch to Ellie. Then we got this dream with Jack, and she's like, right, I need you to sleep with him. So you know, and it's a real, as I say, when I say dirty, sleazy, it's definitely got that. It's a very uncomfortable film. There's nothing, like I say, nothing comedic about this film. It's not light-hearted in tone, and it's very sort of unsettling viewing experience as well. But you're very interested to see where it's going, what's going to happen. So he wants her to sleep with his boss to keep him sweet, and this is where the film begins to really trip, and that, like I say, that seediness gets brought forward. You sandwich some of the girls taking drugs, some of them giving oral sex. Sandy tries to run, and Ellie wakes up after seeing Sandy being approached in bed by this creepy, weird, like older dude. We do have by the numbers double wake up scene where she thinks she is awake but isn't, and then she actually wakes up, which has been done time and time again in many movies. It's even been done in like Family Guy, Simpsons, you name it. I think most shows or TV shows have had this at one point. This guy John, who's been nothing but a sweetheart to her, though, movie says to Ellie he is always there for her. Like, John's the cool guy, right? John is the one. He's like, I'm always there. He's nothing nice. He's nothing but nice to her all the time. He's always like, I've got your back. I'm there. So that night, the record player starts itself, and she gets dragged through to this 60s club. See, the fact is, something that started fun and carefree has become horrible, gruesome and grotesque, and she hates it. Like, Ellie liked going into this place, this mental place where she was, this what happened, like, you know, where she gets transported to, but then it flips and she doesn't want to go there anymore. She doesn't like it. She hates it. It's implied that Sandy has basically become a prostitute, and this guy tells her to look in the mirror, but she won't, where Ellie is on the other side. And it's a really trippy moment where this figure is approaching Ellie in bed after she like wakes up with no face or eyes, and his face is all blurred and his voice keeps changing. That night, Ellie goes with John to like this Halloween party. One thing you will mainly remember from this movie are reds, greens, and the blues colour schemes. It's got, like I said, the colour of the movie, and when I talk about the cinematography and just the whole look and the vibe of the movie, the colours of that, the Soho district and the reds and the greens and the blues are definitely colours that you do think of when you look at this movie. So one thing you will always remember, that Ellie sees all these faceless gentlemen on stage, and Sandy and Jack. Ellie and John go back to her room as they are getting it on, and she sees Sandy being threatened by Jack and is screaming for him to get off her, and she witnessed Sandy basically being stabbed multiple times. And after Ellie freaks out, John leaves in a panic, which, to be honest, but I think she completely freaks out, so he just leaves, he runs out. And she sees loads of these like dark figures up the stairs, sort of like ghost zombies, if you can imagine such a thing. That's the only way I could sort of describe them. Just sort of ghost zombies up the stairs. But if you can imagine, she asked Miss Collins if someone called Sandy died in her room and keeps seeing these weird dark figures everywhere. So she goes to the police and says she witnessed a murder that she thinks happened in the 60s. The whole time she thinks that Terence Stamp is actually Jack, like sort of the older version of Matt Smith. She's like, I'm pretty sure that's Jack, and he's still lurking around Soho. He's still around, and she identifies him as Jack. And he seems to know names. She begins to look up murders at her college library. John agrees to help her, but in her panic state she almost stabs Jocasta in the face with some scissors, as Ellie's completely losing her sort of grip on reality at this point. She follows Terence Stamp to the pub where she works and confronts him, saying, I know what you did, and starts to record the conversation on her phone. He says it was Alex who killed her, and outside he gets run over out of nowhere. Like, Terence Stamp gets annihilated. So Ellie finds out that actually he was an undercover cop, and it was him who was in her dream and was the guy earlier, which I didn't mention, who was basically the one who was telling her to get out. Now, like I mentioned, this film is all very cool. It's very clever. It's there's a lot of thought and effort being put into the plot, but as I say, is it really ever explained why Ellie can see these things, why she's experiencing these things, why can she see ghosts, why can she see what's happened before? I think that could have just been fleshed, like I mentioned, could have just been fleshed out just a teeny weeny bit more, so we could sort of get into sort of why this is happening rather than it's just happening, So he says it was Alex that killed her, and it was him that was the one who told her. So now, after all this trip nightmarish assault that is going on, naturally Ellie wants to go home, and John agrees to drive. Like, she's had enough. Ellie wants to go home. She's checking out. She wants out. So the twist of the movie, it turns out, is Miss Collins was and is Sandy. Her landlady is actually Sandy, and it was her that actually murdered Jack in that bedroom along with many other men and hid the bodies in the walls and the floorboards. Not sure why Miss Collins doesn't question how Ellie found this out, and also, like, these people, why go to see Sandy or disappearing? Why wouldn't men continue? Like, if they're all going to see Sandy and all these men keep disappearing because she's like killing them, why would men continue to go to see Sandy? Because it would be like sort of, hang on, wait a minute, it didn't hurt the last guy that went to see her sort of disappear. So if no one hears where they are. But anyway, basically she was killing these people. Ellie's T has been drugged by Miss Collins, who's going to kill her. John, coming in to check she's okay, gets stabbed by Miss Collins. The place catches fire, so we have to have some drama. We've got always have a burning building at the end, haven't we? The bodies and ghosts in the wall start trying to grab Ellie, and it turns out they aren't after her, but they want her to kill Sandy for what she did to them. So, which is quite interesting. I thought that was quite clever. So Miss Collins kills herself and tells her to save John as the building burns and ambulances turn up. So with all this going on, freakouts, nearly stabbing another student with scissors, she's allowed to stay and complete her course, and her fashion week is a success. After nearly stabbing Jocasta in the face with some scissors, she's just basically allowed to carry on at college. But I think that was a really nice twist at the end there with having... I didn't see it coming. I did not see it coming. I didn't realise that Miss Collins was, her landlady was actually Sandy. It was her that done the murders. She doesn't question that, though, how Ellie found this out. And like I say, if it was the case that she was killing all her clients and men that come to see her, why would they, wouldn't it be, hang on, wait a minute, like I mentioned, wouldn't, if the last 8-9 guys that went to see her have just disappeared, not been heard from again, it's like, I'm not going to see her, because like people are just disappearing. So she completes her course, her fashion week success, where she sees her mum in the mirror and Sandy. So does that mean like Sandy is now another spirit that she will see? Is that what that means? Like, will she be kind of a nice ghost, or will she continue to haunt her and have nightmares? You're not too sure, but she sees her mum and it's like Sandy's there as well. So maybe Sandy's going to sort of be with her forever. Maybe that's what's implied. So yes, the film is good. I think it's a really entertaining film. It kept me guessing throughout, and the reveal at the end I think was a very interesting one. I didn't see the overall twist coming there. A few little minor plot holes here and there, but it doesn't stop the film from being an overall really enjoyable, very trippy unsettling, disturbing sort of experience. Whilst I do think it kind of stumbles a bit in places, but visually it's a fantastic film with a great performance from our two leads here, great cast, wonderful direction from Edgar Wright, and it's just a nice take on the whole psychological trippy sort of murder mystery, if you will. Just don't expect something, like I say, as light and as carefree as Wright's other work. So thank you very much indeed for watching. Hope you enjoyed the review, and I'll see you again soon.
Don't concentrate on the finger or you will miss all that heavenly glory.